Hello again, gracious viewers. Welcome to another exciting episode of Backstage Showcase. I am your host, Andrew Bermudez, and today we will be looking at something kind of unusual, but what's even more unusual about it is where it originally came from. That's right, today we'll be talking about Solarum Industries, the fictional company that we created for our cinematic universe and that will be playing a large role in the future, as well as playing very significant roles in, obviously, the film Solarum, but also in the Brawl entry Clone. Then again, now that I think about it, both films featuring Solarum are both Brawl entries, but I think that's more of a coincidence than anything else. Now, however, even though Solarum has now basically cemented itself as a major part of the cinematic universe, you might be wondering where Solarum originally came from. Well, interestingly enough, Solarum first started out as a more or less way to explain something in New Friends and Environmental Fable. Allow me to elaborate. So I'm going to forewarn you really quickly. What I'm about to say is big spoilers for not only New Friends, but also for Solarum and Clone. So I imagine that you've seen those films by now if you're watching this video, but if not, be sure to watch all three and then come back here and then you can find out more. But anyway, so back to what I was saying about New Friends and that. So that film, as you may know, ends with the Hall of Extinction. And in the very last shot, you see the dead mummified security guard, and behind him is a ruined skyline. But what is interesting here is specifically about the flashlight that the dead guard is holding. So, in the original storyboards, the flashlight was going to be shining a beam into the Hall of Extinction, and there was some problems with that. You see, the end of New Friends takes place in the year 5481, and in the premise that we had created for the Hall of Extinction, all life is wiped out, but the problem was how would that flashlight last that long if all of life is gone? Because, I mean, there's nobody to replace batteries around anymore. The solution we came up with was one that not only would lead to this big development for Project U, but was also kind of an odd one. So you see, our explanation as to why this flashlight was still working in the post-apocalyptic future was that we simply said, it's a solar-powered flashlight. There you go. And we even threw the name Solarum on there just to say, hey, this flashlight is solar-powered. And ironically, we did that. We stuck it in the film, but the flashlight is dead in the final movie. Pure irony, I know. This, however, created some other problems as well. Because the general premise that we created for the Hall of Extinction at the end of New Friends was that humanity had not learned their lessons about what happened with the dodo birds and things like that, so they overtaxed the Earth's resources and basically drove all organic life to extinction on the planet. So Earth became a desolate wasteland and all that. And the question there was that if humans were more or less behaving that way in this hypothetical timeline, why would they have something like a solar-powered flashlight? So this then is where the idea for Solarum Industries came from. So now, flash forward a little over a year to 2014. At this time was around the time that Project U was just starting to kick off, and Brawl 2014 had just started, and the theme was development. And I was thinking more or less around about what to do, because at this point I had already established the cinematic universe. I had already confirmed that all of these different films exist in the same universe. So I knew I could make a brick film about something that happens in one of our live action movies, for example, and it would make total sense. So when I was thinking about development, I then went back to that flashlight and thought, I have this idea with Solarum. Why not take it and run with it? Because I was thinking about different ways to tie things together with Project U, and I thought that Solarum would be a good way to tie things together, and that I was thinking that I could solve this problem that I had in saying that the reason why we have a solar powered flashlight, quote unquote, in the future is because, well, it's supposed to be environmentally friendly, but what if it's not actually that way and this company has ulterior motives? So I was thinking about things like that. I didn't want to say that, oh, everybody in this corporation is horrible or anything like that, but I wanted to show some of that intrigue in Solarum. Honestly, for me, it didn't work out that well, but for me, I was just trying to start building up that intrigue with Solarum and trying to establish them for future Project U movies. However, in my second Brawl entry, Clone, I decided it was time to establish that one of the executives of Solarum, Cromwell Powell, is actually a very, very bad guy, if you will, and that he's going to be a major antagonist in the future. So that's something I really wanted to establish. Again, showing this intrigue with Solarum, trying to suggest a few things. In Clone, I even abandoned the whole environmentality angle with Solarum and just show all of these devices that they're using that basically are like sci-fi technology, something that they typically would not be developing, and playing with what it would be, showing a few things that are going to again play into the future. Most of Clone actually does that because it is a film that is setting up the character of Mark Walker, who is going to be coming back for BioCore. So that was so there's a lot of that in there. And I even, when the film was released, confirmed that the big laser gun device that the trooper has is actually a device that can simultaneously turn a character into a stromling, which will become important in the future, and also teleport them to another dimension. And it's all these like weird like sci-fi things that Solarum is starting to show. And then in the future, Solarum is obviously going to play a much bigger role as more films are released. Specifically films like BioCore and Legends of the Universe. However, because those films are not out yet, I really cannot say about how Solarum plays a role in those films and essentially what happens with Solarum in those movies, because that would just dive into spoiler territory, and since I haven't even started filming those movies, I don't really want to get into that and just want to surprise you. And with that said, if there's anything that you can take away from this, there's three things. First, be good to the environment. Don't just say you're good to the environment. Two, looks can be deceiving. And three, don't use a sci-fi weapon that mutates people and teleports them to alternate dimensions. Even if that last one is a fantastic ASOP that you can't actually do in real life. And that concludes today's episode of Backstage Showcase. Join me again next month as I go over something very, very interesting. Something I think a lot of you will enjoy hearing about. A big project that was announced but ultimately canceled. But I'll be covering that in the next episode, including lots of concept art. So you'll definitely want to be here for that. Until then, though, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't already, be sure to visit our YouTube channel. And also visit our website at mustachemaniacsfilmco.webs.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, visit our wiki and press room, and so much more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.